You record it, I'll do it.
I just did.
Oh, we're doing it. Yeah, baby. What is up, everyone? It is the Inside Kradle, a deep dive over 45 minutes or so about all of the hottest topics of the week. Plus, on this podcast, former WWE NXT North American Champion, the most talked about pro wrestling free agent at the moment right now, Big Jonah, a.k.a. Bronson Reed. We will have a 20-plus minute conversation with him about his future, about his WWE run, his exit, and of all things, horror movies. We'll talk. We'll get into the spooky season with Big Jonah and all those.
Believe it or not, that transition was actually pretty natural. It's amazing. It's amazing how conversations go.
We'll also talk about the WWE Draft, because we're gonna shake things up again. It's the Inside Kradle from Sportskeeda Wrestling. Watch out! 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 Time to watch out.
Before I forget, and we're gonna play a little fantasy draft here because it's a lot different when you have actual two people making the picks. But I'd like to plug, I did do a mock draft this week. It is up right now on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. I'm getting some rave reviews for it. Some people actually think I have some common sense. It's very nice. Very nice of you guys to lie to my face like that. But check that out. It's up there on the YouTube channel right now.
I've been able to see. I have to check that out myself as well. So definitely sound off in the comments. Let us know what you guys think of the show, especially if you're watching on demand, you're listening. Let us know as well. If you haven't done already, go ahead and subscribe to Sportskeeda Wrestling on YouTube. We are getting ever so closer to 22,000. Our big goal is 30,000. That's what we want to hit within the next season. I think it's possible. I'm gonna say it's possible. I'm gonna say it's possible.
Dude, I remember when I started here 2 years ago tomorrow, by the way, when I started here, we only had like 3,000 or 4,000. So in just that amount of time, we have, what's that math there? We've 5 times as many. So it's remarkable. So hell yeah, we can hit 30,000.
And a lot of content coming at you, not just Inside Kradle. We do the top story of the day 5 days a week. That is with me and Jose G. Every night we have post shows for Monday at Raw with Vince Russo. Wednesday night covering AEW Dynamite and NXT. And then Friday night you're on Smack Talk with Dirty Dutch Mantel himself after Rampage. So much to cover. Pay-per-view post shows, exclusive interviews. McIntyre, the possibly the next WWE champion.
We'll get to that. Don't forget, also spoke with Angelo Dirty Dawkins this week, talking about the WWE draft as well as his Buckeye homerism, which I, as a Cincinnati guy, had to give him some crap for because he is also a Cincinnati guy. Yet he roots for Ohio State. I had to ask him about that. We'll have a little clip from that as well because he ate some. I'll go ahead and say it. He ate some shit from the SmackDown locker room earlier this year, and I had the privilege of opening up some old wounds today. So we'll play that coming up for you as well.
A lot to get into, but let's talk what happened last night because we're rolling off of it. We have a new TNT champion in AEW, the big main event in Rochester. This is one of the many dates AEW is making up that they postponed in the pandemic, and wow, some people waited a long time. Very emotional night. They get to do some great tributes on the show to John Huber, Brody Lee. It was very meaningful, fun. But at the end of the night, Sammy Guevara, member of the Inner Circle, brash young talent, at one point one of the bigger heels, coming up now, a beloved babyface, defeating the monster that came over from WWE, Miro, for the TNT Championship. I was surprised by this. I thought maybe they would hold off on this and maybe do this on the pay-per-view they have coming up in November. But AEW is not, they're not reluctant to give pay-per-view payoff special moments on television. Sammy Guevara is your new TNT champion. Thrilling match, really exciting. Fuego del Sol getting involved as well, but didn't matter because Sammy was able to hit that beautiful top rope finisher and win this. I was surprised, very surprised about this.
Yeah, I was surprised. I understand the story. I know what they've been building. They've been kind of building up to this, so it makes a ton of sense. I don't like it. No, sir, I don't like it. I was enjoying my my Monster Miro and his God's favorite champion promos. I thought this had a lot more legs to it, to be completely honest. So I wanted him to have that TNT title, much like Bobby Lashley, right? When Bobby Lashley was that dominant United States champion, they took the championship off of him in a way that protected him because they were ready to make him the WWE champion. I wanted them to do that with Miro as well. I wanted him to be the TNT champion and then have them protect him in a way until he was ready to capture the AEW world title. And with that belt still around the waist of Kenny Omega, I don't think we're anywhere near that. So I really, really wanted Miro to hang on to that TNT title for quite a bit. I thought he was a great champion. I'm not saying that Sammy Guevara is not going to be, but I would have preferred the belt to stay on Miro.
I don't know. I mean, it's just an odd move to me. This is one of those things where I think he would have been great for a pay-per-view, but am I going to complain about it? I mean, it's a long time until you get to a pay-per-view. AEW has a completely different story structure. That is why you get pay-per-view payoffs from them on television, because they're not like WWE where they have a pay-per-view every month. They have a pay-per-view every quarter. So they have to give you some of those things on television. And they don't have, 5 hours of front on television. They've three spread out over 2 nights.
Right. And by the way, to WWE's credit, they'll do that every now and again. Don't forget the last two
they've done it recently.
You know what I mean? Last two WWE title changes were on Raw.
Yeah.
So they do it every now and again. In fact, the Intercontinental Championship has changed hand several times outside of
and just banger matches too. Like they've been doing a lot more of those on television recently. So it's not.
It's
I'm not opposed
likely to happen. More likely to happen in AEW because of their pay-per-view structure, to where they don't have to stretch things out so much.
I do think AEW has this thing where they have to cram so much onto Dynamite. Like it was a good show, but there was so much to process. Almost like the same way I feel about NXT, where I like that they're throwing everything at the wall. Like, and some things may not work, but I'm okay with it because they're doing it for new talent. They're absolutely doing this for new, fresh talent, and truly saying like, all right, well, if it's gonna be development, we are gonna develop. Like, right?
Yeah.
So with Dynamite, it's like, no, we've established this show. It has a big audience. We're gonna throw everything at you as much as we can and cram as many things. And I think that sometimes when the show is just off the mark is when they try to do too many people around the ring and too many finishes, a 16-man tag team match, which was fun. It was fine, right? It wasn't.
I understand why they did that. A 16-man tag team match under normal circumstances is absurd.
No, this was a Brody Lee tribute match, and that's completely why it worked. There were other things on the show that had people talking. And the most talked about thing last night was not a loving tribute to Brody Lee. And it wasn't even Sammy Guevara winning a title.
It wasn't the premiere. It
wasn't the premiere of Roads to the Top. We'll get into that.
Will we? Do we have to?
Well, I saw it, and there were some mixed reactions to it, and we'll get into mine. Hopefully we can sneak something in before we get off here. But what was most controversial last night was Arn Anderson. Arn Anderson and his gun, his Glock to be specific.
It's whether you liked the promo or not, can we agree that it is not a good thing that it's 2021 and Arn Anderson is the most talked about thing on a wrestling show?
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't be the thing, right? Like that shouldn't be a thing. It's great that Arn can still cut a damn good promo, or at least one that's talked about. But he shouldn't be the most talked about thing on your show.
He should be the most talked about thing on the show. And it was a fun promo. Wasn't great. Because it was loud. It was brash. Maybe people go, ooh. Maybe people go, ah. You know what it didn't make me do? Care about what's next. Didn't make me care about what's next. I mean, specifically the gun part. He has a match, a tag team match. Cody and Shoddy Lee of the American Nightmare family are out there, and Arn Anderson, classic Arn Anderson wrestler extraordinaire, decades, is their coach. He's mad at Cody for not paying attention to him. That doesn't come off on camera. Only commentary is saying that, but you can't really tell on camera that Arn Anderson is mad at him, right?
But that's also commentary's job too. They got to help tell the story.
Sure.
That's why they're there.
Sure. That's okay. Sometimes they just don't get a shot of somebody like yelling at someone ringside, especially a manager and stuff like that. I completely understand that. You're doing something nuanced. I was like, oh, okay. Leveled storytelling. So they do the match. The match is fine. They do some crazy stuff in it. And they thankfully win, but it's Shoddy Lee getting the tag and getting in and winning. And Cody's off the mark and he's not prepared, and Arn is upset with him because last week they lost to Malachi Black, and he wasn't dialed in, and he was trying to make sure that Arn was okay, and because he wasn't dialed in when Arn was attacked at ringside by Malachi Black was able to beat him yet again and embarrass him in New York City. And you're letting Malachi Black come in here and kick me in the face. And I don't care if I get kicked in the face. I'm on Anderson. I'm the enforcer. I am too old. Too damn old. I can't enforce no more. All right. Now, if someone come in and try to steal my car, I'm putting my big Glock up to the head and pull the trigger. Right. And that's Arn Anderson, right?
Sure. I don't think he sounds
maybe
like
maybe it's just the Attitude Era, right? Or it's somebody from a different generation. And I saw the memes and everything like that, but I think saying you're going to shoot someone in the head with a gun is pretty passe. I'm not too sensitive when I say, as someone who's been in Chicago, a city that has an issue with gun violence, a city where I can tell you for a fact I've been threatened with a firearm. So maybe I'm triggered. Sorry if I'm triggered. I heard some people say that too. You're really triggered. Yeah, because it's a gun joke, right? And I wasn't say I was offended by it, but it was more like, oh, somebody didn't tell him, like there's
I would agree there's a better way to.
Yeah.
Because basically what he's trying to say is Cody has no balls anymore, right? Like that's pretty much what he was trying to say.
But you already started the show with Bryan Danielson saying that Kenny Omega had no balls.
Right. I get it. So it's like he's trying to get Cody to refocus. He's trying to
everyone's balls. I'm saying it. All right.
Right. He's got to find a way to. It was the wake up call promo. It was like, dude, get your head out of your ass. What's wrong with just saying, dude, get your head out of your ass?
They're slapping him.
Yeah, you don't need an analogy. Yeah, slap the shit out of him. I don't care. You don't need an analogy like that. I can understand. I'm not going to sit here and say, you're too sensitive for feeling the way that you do, because that's not my position to say.
And I'm not even saying like I was overly mad about it, but I kind of processed after, and I kept trying to watch the show, and it took me like another 15 minutes to get back in the show. And it was a bad promo. It was just like, it's just, that's beneath you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like you went and did it. Like you were doing a high spot you didn't need to do, is what I'm saying. Like it didn't call for that.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get you. Yeah, and I'm with you. I mean, I'm not gonna.
And in the internet age, you have this out. You have this image of him with an invisible gun at someone's head. You have that now. That's all over the internet, and that's how you let the internet rebrand you and misconstrue it and redo it any way you want.
Yeah. I'm not saying that I had a major issue with it. I think he could have said something completely different and got as good or not.
I don't have a major issue with it, but then it took me a while to understand why it bothered me. You know what I mean?
Right. And I'm not going to sit here and say that anybody else who feels that way is wrong for feeling that way. No. I don't get that same sense, but I do think it could have been handled a little bit better, because it's not. By the way, it ain't just Chicago that's got a gun violence problem. It's the entire freaking country. So yeah, I get where you're coming.
It's certainly interesting though. AEW still on a roll. We will have their next pay-per-view. This was confirmed in the past week. Will not be in St. Louis, Missouri, as previously announced on November 6th. It'll move back a week to avoid being in conflict with a UFC pay-per-view and some other major sporting events. They're going to be rather in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a larger city, at the Target Center for November 13th. So a lot of things expected on that show. Seems like we will get a Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega title match. So that is certainly an attraction. The first one, a non-title match, was a spectacular, and Papa Dave Meltzer, close confidant of Tony Khan, also number one wrestling journalist in the world, gave it 5 stars. It was a 5-star match. It was an absolutely spectacular match.
Yeah.
All those things.
By the way, it's just funny, and I know everybody was saying this, and it's just funny that Bryan's very first match in AEW, he finally gets a 5-star rating. Like, I'm not sitting here saying that wasn't a 5-star match. I think he should have had more 5-star matches. Everything's, objective, obviously, but it's very coincidental, is what I'll say, that Meltzer finally gives him a 5-star rating once he has one match in AEW. It just comes off that way.
I know. Of course it comes off that way. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be critical. Dave, like, makes great stuff, but it's the same. It's no different than when you watch the Oscars. Oh, you ever seen an Oscar movie? There is a Meltzer 5-star type of match. You like there, and I mean that in a good way. Like there's 5-star bait out there. So we're going to get into more the WWE side of things. The draft is coming up, and there are moves that are in play here. And there are some things happening right before the draft that I'm very, very surprised by. I thought maybe we wouldn't so much be in a holding pattern, but we wouldn't have so many players around the WWE Championship. Got to give it to Monday Night Raw. People have been bad on Monday Night Raw for a while, saying the show is too long, it has too many weak segments on it, it isn't compelling for a 3-hour television. I would say the past few weeks of Monday Night Raw, the past month of Monday Night Raw, has been probably some of the best Monday Night Raw it's been in a year plus.
That's not saying much, but I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. But they have a new champion. They've had banger pay-per-view level matches to open and close the show the past 2 weeks. And you have a new champion who's exciting, who cuts on-point promos. This is back to fundamentals. This is a babyface you love against bad guys you don't like. And I'm okay with let's just get to steak and potatoes, because you got guys who can really pull off those spots. All right, back to basics. And this is a good time to do it within like when you can see Royal Rumble on the horizon, all these different things. You can hit those big points with players you like. Liked it. Cage match to end the show. Hell of a match with Lashley. Hell of a match with Big E. Big ups to both of them. Lashley out of the picture. Big E getting past him. And guess who comes out? Drew McIntyre, who could no longer challenge Lashley as the champion.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And it almost didn't hit me at first, right? Because I was there. The show was in Cincinnati this week.
You had a fun time? How great was that cage match?
Oh, the cage match was phenomenal. The opening of the show was great. The cage match was fantastic. There was some stuff in the middle I didn't really care about. There were a lot of matches. Like they had like 8 matches in like the first 2 hours. A lot of squashes. Would have liked to have seen more.
That they say an issue with Raw is it's a 3-hour show and they talk too much. Now the problem is they wrestle too much.
There was a lot of action. I liked them introducing Bearcat Lee, Chris Lee in Cincinnati, the home of the UC Bearcats. I thought that I made that joke on Top Story ahead of it, and then they did it. So that worked out really, really well. I don't know if I like the nickname for Keith Lee, but I think he's going to be he's definitely leaning more towards a heelish character. And as long as they do something with Keith Lee, I'm all for that. But overall, I thought it was a really, really good show. And when Drew McIntyre came out at the end, because that was the one guy I'm watching this going, man, we didn't have Drew at all. That's weird. Is he still in the UK? Is he still hanging out, in Glasgow? Is he just, chilling at home, take a week off? And then as soon as the show ends, he comes out full ring gear, sword pointing at Big E. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Drew is right back in the damn title picture. But then it hit me. Oh, yeah, that's right. There was that stipulation of Drew can't challenge for the WWE title as long as Bobby Lashley has it, and Bobby Lashley doesn't have it anymore. So of course he's going to hop right back in that mix and try to take out Big E for the WWE Championship.
But it's also right before the draft. So I mean,
which makes me think Drew ain't going nowhere, because I don't think Big E's going anywhere either.
Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, who knows? If I'm WWE, hit Drew McIntyre on SmackDown feels like a fresh move.
Yes,
and it feels.
But then you have a guy like Lashley who's tweeting out today that he's been dominating Raw for 3 years, and it might be time for a change. So maybe they move Lashley over to Friday Night SmackDown.
Sure. So, and there's a lot in play. I do think WWE is going to do some big things in this draft. I do think this is going to be a hard change, specifically in the middle of the card. Maybe not so much in the top, but that's good. That's good in the long run, because you can build people up to the top. Another part of people being built up to the top in the WWE draft is NXT call-ups. This has come up in the last 4 or 5 days. We've learned of multiple reports from many different sources saying that WWE NXT, which is also itself gone under a recent reboot as 2.0, and Braun Breaker Rex Steiner as the new thing on the block. And of course,
that kid's a stud, by the way. Like I haven't seen a slam dunk prospect like can't miss. This guy's going to be a mega star in NXT, and honestly, quite a while. Like this guy just seems like a no-brainer.
Less than a month.
Yeah.
Less than a month on TV, I think, has to be stated. Like this guy's had less than a month on television.
This guy is going to be hot-shotted, I think, to the main roster. I think he's going to run through NXT. They're going to give him a little bit of seasoning. I don't think he needs much. He already cuts a great promo. He's good in the ring. He's charismatic.
You want a friend? Go get a dog. I love that line. That was awesome.
I think Braun Breaker is going to be a major player sooner rather than later on the main roster.
Let's get on to who's going to be a player for WWE a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
Is there's talk of WWE calling up an entire faction from NXT. The group led by Isaiah Swerve Scott, Hit Row, his organically inspired hip-hop driven group of his friends in NXT who enjoy going down to his beat laboratory. I say beat laboratory because I learned that from the movie Step Brothers. All right. Don't you touch my drum set. Don't touch my drum set. All right. Rick, do not touch my drum set.
I won't touch it with my hands.
Look at the movie. All right. So, all right. So we have them possibly coming up to Raw or SmackDown. That's an interesting prospect. It shows also that WWE has a wide array of different characters. That was a big thing we learned from NXT 2.0 very quickly, is they wanted to create and define characters. Do we have great wrestlers? Of course we're going to have great wrestlers. We're WWE. We need characters that you can remember. And I would say there's sometimes with AEW that's a real problem. They have guys that have an entrance and they say something on their gear. Dante, who was in that incredible tag team match, great guy. All right, well, you do these incredible moves, but I know nothing about you. I don't know anything about you. Whereas if you talked about somebody coming up really fast and WWE like Hit Row, like, yeah, they're rappers and they talk a bunch of crap and he has a grill in his mouth and look at them doing ciphers and they're doing group roast battles to rip on somebody in their promos. And they've done hip hop inspired characters, but these guys are legitimate hip hop inspired characters. That isn't just a faux thing. That's something they can really do that really, really makes sense. This isn't Bob Sparkplug Holly where we're going to say you like race cars and we're going to put a race car jacket on you. No, these guys, they're legitimately are what they say they are.
Right, yeah.
And also on top of it, they're young. They're different. It's a group of African-American talent, which I think is still an important thing and still something that WWE truly is inspired by a lot recently with all the big things they've done. It's been African-American characters that people connect with, and that audience is driven by it. A younger audience. It looks different. Smart idea. Put them on Raw. Get them on Raw. Get them cutting promos. Get them beating up bad guys. Maybe they are the bad guys, but they're fun. They're fresh. They're exciting. And on top of it, it isn't just dudes. You have B-Fab in there as well. So I think it's an exciting crew. If they do get called up, I think it'd be a challenge because you got to get them all to work at the same time and hit as an act. But it is different. I like it.
I'm 100% on board with everything that you just said. I think Hit Row would be a slam dunk call up for Monday Night Raw. I agree. Put them on Raw. I think that's a great fit. A great fit there. I'm looking at another group, though, that I think should get the call up, and that's Legado del Fantasma. I think they would be perfect for SmackDown. I think that is a great addition. I think Santos Escobar is a future main event guy. He has that talent. I think he would get it's so hard because it's like Vince, you hear talked about a lot. He wants to create a new star, and we've seen him try it with Alberto Del Rio, and we've seen him try it with Humberto Carrillo for a little bit, and we've seen him Angel Garza and Carrillo now getting another shot as a tag team on Raw. I think Escobar could be that missing top level talent that he's been looking for quite some time on Friday Night SmackDown, and you can bring up his entire crew with him. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think that would be great. I think you're going to see a lot of the people who have been there for a little bit. Maybe not the Johnny Garganos or the Tommaso Ciampas of the world, but I think a lot of the more senior talent might be coming up here in this draft to kind of freshen things up on Raw.
And everyone in Hit Row is fairly new outside of Swerve, but Swerve this guy's been in the game for a long time, you know, and he's been in the system for them for a long time. Also, he's not a one-note character. I know the hip-hop thing is big with him, but he's been able to prove he can do the slow, methodical promos and do some different things. And he has an eye for the camera in terms of finding it, which is something you always hear about when you talk to people in wrestling. You talk to them long enough. Can you find the camera? Can you frame the action? Do you know how to really bring people into what you're doing? And Swerve can do that. I'm looking forward to it. I think NXT call-ups in the draft are smart. You have all the talent. This is this. If you let people go,
you're throwing so much new talent in NXT, you got to make room for them as well. So I mean,
yes.
You got to freshen up both rosters here a little bit. And it's not like there isn't room for new talent.
And if you let so many people go within WWE that were under contract and all these releases, my issue is that, well, then some people got to come up. You know what I mean? So I'm all right with it. It makes complete sense here. What are the rules of the draft? The draft kind of always has these, mind you, it's a kayfabe draft, right? It's not like an NFL draft. I know you would like it to be like an NFL draft.
I would like it to be more of the NFL model, yes.
We're doing a very cool thing with this. Friday night, we're going to be doing a live watch along with live draft coverage, the ticker going all night long. All right, the perfect second screen experience coming up Friday night during SmackDown. If it's good, we'll do it again on Monday night. All right. If we have a fun time with it, we'll do it again on Monday night.
We got to get paid. So join us.
So please watch it. Please watch it
and enjoy it.
So our internet masters are pleased. So definitely go check it out for sure. I'm in terms of the draft in general, I'm all right with them kind of working it, but I don't want the draft show. People get excited. They're anticipating it. And then it just becomes screens. We're all looking at screens all night. That's okay for us. We're covering things. We want to cover reactions, but I still want exciting matches and stuff like that.
That's totally fine. And that's the thing where I think the WWE draft, if they adapted the NFL model, they could make the WWE draft, I'm not going to say as big as the NFL draft, but that's where WWE has the advantage, is there's actual action. Could you imagine if the NFL draft, Joe Burrow gets selected number 1 overall, and then he's immediately plugged in and we're watching a drive? Could you imagine if that happened? Like, no, you could pull the number 1 draft pick over tonight on SmackDown, the first one, they plug somebody, they steal them over from Monday Night Raw, and then boom, immediately they're into a match. That's the really cool thing about WWE.
They've done that in the past. They've done that in the past where they have someone come out and say, you're going to face the next draft pick. Whoever the next draft pick is from Monday Night Raw, you're on Monday Night Raw, you're insert mid-card wrestler who's already on Raw. All right. Unless you get drafted next, you can walk out of the ring. If you get drafted, you SmackDown, you walk right out of the ring. Right.
Yeah. They did that a couple years ago where it was kind of a cliffhanger thing. Like Jinder Mahal got drafted over to Raw, I believe it was, when he was the United States champion, and they had no intentions of moving the United States title over to Raw. So they had Jeff Hardy beat him on Raw for the United States title, and Jeff was drafted over to SmackDown, or Jeff was drafted to SmackDown before he won the title, something like that, just to kind of to swerve people. So that part of it I really like. But man, like they're putting out like what I like they did this year. They're putting out like the mock draft, kind of like a bracket, like for the NCAA. They're like, hey, fill out your top 10 picks and this, that, and the other thing, man. And it's like, okay. But every year the draft rules change. Every year we don't know what the draft rules are until like the night of. It's just, I wish that they put more. I wish they made it look like they put more planning into things. And I know that's difficult with WWE because Vince likes to change his mind at the 11th hour.
Well, you have to. They have so many moving pieces, and it's kayfabe. You know what I mean? They can and they have to.
That's
right?
why the picks themselves can change. I don't have an issue with that. But set the rules. Like, how is it going to work? You
wish it was like if you've watched wrestling for more than a few years, you know how the Royal Rumble works. They don't have to explain it to you. Now, mind you, everyone gets mad when they explain the Royal Rumble to you because that's for new fans, right? So with this, it's like, well, it's a draft. Like, how does this work? Who gets what picks? So Raw will get more picks.
Are we doing the 3-2 model again this year where Raw automatically gets the number 1 pick? Because if Raw automatically gets the number 1 pick, I have a bone to pick, because there is no way in hell. I'll be stunned if it actually happens. There is no way in hell Fox is letting Roman Reigns get off of SmackDown, and he is the slam dunk number 1 overall selection. So USA, for the second year in a row, is going to look stupid for passing up Roman Reigns. They did it last year. Not a slight against Drew McIntyre at all. I love Drew McIntyre. I've talked to him a half a dozen times. I think he's a tremendous talent. I
talked to him today. Talked to him today. That interview is going to be dropping within the next week.
Last year, Drew McIntyre went number 1 overall when it should have been Roman Reigns. This year, I bet New Day gets selected when it should be the Bloodline. Like, that's just how it's going to work. That's nothing against them, but Roman Reigns is the guy, man. If you talk to anybody in that locker room, they know Roman Reigns is the guy, which is why USA is going to look dumb when they pass him up. And the number 1 rule of pro wrestling is believability. So why would the USA Network, when they're struggling with ratings, pass up the biggest ratings draw in the company? It doesn't make any sense. So I almost wouldn't mind if WWE made like a fantasy draft play here, where they said, all right, this is now a keeper league. USA can keep 3 people. Fox can keep
franchise tag.
Yes, a franchise tag.
This year we've put a franchise tag, and then there's been years where they say the champions can't move. Like the champions, if you're a champion, we're not going to move you.
Right.
If you have a title, you're not going anywhere.
Those rules change from a year to year basis. So same thing with the Money in the Bank. It's WWE basically plays whose line is it anyway with their rules for certain things. Like the rules are made up and they don't matter because we'll change them at the 0 hour anyway. But I like the idea of a franchise tag where Fox can go, hey, look, Roman Reigns, Becky Lynch, and Shinsuke Nakamura, those are our 3 champions. We don't want them going anywhere. They're going to stay here. Raw could do the same thing with Big E, Damian Priest, and Charlotte Flair, or whomever, a young up-and-comer that they want to keep. If SmackDown wants to invest in their future and keep Bianca Belair, they can totally do that. I like that idea. It makes the executives, the people who are making the picks, because there's no commissioners anymore. You got Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville on both shows.
I'm happy with that.
I'm happy with that too. It's Fox. Yeah. I like the idea of Fox versus USA, but it's not going to make any damn sense when USA passes up Roman Reigns for the 2nd year in a row. At least I think, because we don't know the damn rules yet, and we're a day away from the draft.
Representing the USA Network, Chris Lee will come out to now announce the next pick.
Because he knows best.
Yes, he knows best. Representing Fox, the NFL robot will now moonwalk to the stage to tell us who Fox has selected.
Oh, it's WWE. You know they'd send out Ryan Satin.
Let's get into this. What's the biggest move we could see in the draft? What's the biggest shake-up that you could get? You brought up Roman Reigns.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I think and I even talked to Big E, and he made it quite clear that Raw is his show now, at least in his mind. Now, I'm not saying things couldn't shake up, obviously, but I think New Day are staying put. I think Roman Reigns and the Bloodline are staying put where they are, which means I think the biggest shakeup, honestly, could be in.
Do they get new challengers? Do people come over to SmackDown to face him?
I think they will. I like guys like Keith Lee to move over. I think Drew and Lashley are going to change brand. One of them is definitely going to change brands. I think Drew's going to go wherever Big E goes now, which makes me think that Drew is staying. So Lashley, I think, is going to go over to SmackDown.
It makes more sense.
I think we could get a mid-card title swap. I think Damian Priest going over to SmackDown makes a ton of sense.
Nakamura going over to Raw is a fresher thing.
Yep, makes a ton of sense there. I think Pat McAfee would cry if he didn't get to do the Rick Boogs entrance anymore.
Now Corey Taylor has to get on the table and dance.
Corey Graves has to get up on the table.
Graves. Corey Taylor Slipknot will show up every week and he'll dance on the table.
Maybe we get an announcer shakeup. But I think they've
done it before.
They have. I think the biggest.
I don't think Michael Cole would like losing Pat McAfee.
No, I don't think they're going to do it. I think.
I don't think Pat McAfee would want to do Monday nights with his radio schedule.
No, I don't think.
I don't think it works. I think him going on the road at the end of a week of radio, you and I knowing this.
He can stomach doing a pay-per-view on a Sunday and then getting back up the next morning and doing that. But
Monday night into Tuesday, no.
Yeah, I think the biggest shakeup is going to be in the women's division because you look at SmackDown, they are 9-10 deep right now, and then you add
they've also wrestled all of each other. They've all had programs with each other. They've all kind of
but they haven't because you can't get Toni Storm on TV. You can't get Shotzi and Knox on TV. Yeah. Liv Morgan could barely get on TV. That might be the steal of the draft, by the way, is Liv Morgan, I think, going over to Raw as a slam dunk.
Makes complete sense. You also have people that haven't been on television some time that could reappear or be reintroduced in the draft. Specifically, we haven't seen Cesaro for a few months. He did have a great featured match after WrestleMania against Roman Reigns where he nearly won the title. We haven't seen him since. I could see him reintroduced. Guys that are healthy. We haven't seen Kevin Owens. He's been playing more of a backseat role with Happy Corbin. It's not an angle that needs to end. It's just a fun angle for television. It doesn't strike me as having a big pay-per-view payoff or anything like that, though they could get to it and still do it. I could see him moving, even though there's reportedly he only has a few months left on his contract.
That's the interesting thing to me is where are these guys going to go? Where's Sammy and Kevin going to go? Because their contracts are running up soon. So I think the higher that they get taken is a good sign that WWE has some more long-term plans for them. But if they fall into the Aleister Black category from last year where they're taken like with the second to last pick, yeah, I'd be a little concerned that they don't have any long-term plans for those guys.
Could be indicative of it. I think obviously the AEW loyalists who are going to hate watch this draft are going to be able to do that. So you want to do some hate watching? We got a stream for you Friday night. All right, the ultimate second screen experience. The ultimate second screen experience for you Friday night. We'll be doing it during SmackDown. We will also still have Smack Talk, so hours and hours of streaming. So put us up on your phone, put us up on your tablet, put us up on your computer. Maybe you just want to watch us talk about the draft while you do something in the background. You're playing your video games. All that good
and
stuff.
Kev and I are going to have a little contest coming up here because we are actually going to do a straight fantasy draft. Kev will be representing Monday Night Raw, the USA Network. He will get the number 1 overall pick. I will be representing.
I'm older, so I have to go with the older show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm cooler, so I get Fox and and SmackDown. So I will have the second overall pick. We are going to do the top. What did I say here? I don't even remember my own rules. We're going to do 10 picks each. So we're going to do the top 20 picks in the draft. We're just going to go back and forth. We're going to do that, and you're going to tell us who ended up with the better roster. Because again, I did my own mock draft, but that's just me going back and forth. Sure. I love it when there's multiple people involved because one of us is going to make a pick, the other one didn't.
How many picks do I get again? How many picks do I get here again?
We're going to do 10 each.
Okay. All right. So I got some time to prepare for this. So we're going to do this clip now here with Angelo Dawkins. You have to talk to him about a bunch of things.
Yeah. So I got to talk to Angelo Dawkins this week ahead of the draft. Talked to him a little bit about, hey, what happens if the Street Profits get split up, and he had some interesting things to say about that. Very, very confident young man, fellow Cincinnati guy, fellow Fairfield High School grad. We were there at the same time. Didn't know each other then. We know each other now. That's the important thing. But yeah, this is a guy who did not shy away and say, hey, look, if it happens, we're both gonna hit this, head on. He talked about how there's a side of him that the WWE universe hasn't really seen yet because he hasn't had to showcase that, teaming up with Montez Ford. A lot of interesting comments there, but knowing that he is a huge Ohio State homer, I had to play with him a little bit here because he's a Cincinnati guy. You're supposed to root for the damn Bearcats, baby, when you're from Cincinnati, but no, he's an Ohio State guy. And I had to ask him about the rumors from last year, where he got a ton of crap from the SmackDown locker room after Ohio State was eliminated from the NCAA tournament. And he confirmed those rumors and more. It was hilarious.
There were some
our mock draft coming up right after this.
The SmackDown locker room gave you a ton of crap when Buckeyes got knocked out of the NCAA tournament by Oral Roberts this past March, man. What was that? What was that experience like?
First off, I need to know where this source came from so I can go talk to them personally. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. That was a rough day. I remember Ohio State jumped out to a quick little lead. And I was like, oh, this game's over. I don't need to watch anymore. Like, we already know who's winning. And all of a sudden, then it goes into overtime. And I'm just like, what is going on here? And sure enough, as soon as that buzzer rang, it wasn't even just a locker room. It was like camera guys. Vince even threw a joke at me.
Oh, man.
Paul Heyman, just people you wouldn't even think of talking about sports all the time, but they know I'm just such a big Ohio State fan and I talk a lot of smack. I mean, hey, look, I talk a lot of smack and I got to be able to take it if I'm going to dish it out, which I did. I'm a good sportsman about that. Was I happy about the loss? No. Did I probably throw something in the locker room? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there was a lot of, yeah, that was a rough day for me. You know what I'm saying? Even while I was wrestling, I believe we were wrestling Rey Mysterio and Dom that day. And
yeah, you were.
Dolph said something on commentary about Ohio State losing to Oral Roberts, or he said something to me to my face while we were in the ring, and it was just like, oh, okay, cool, all right. It was just, I mean, shoot, I got that, and then when they lost to Oregon a couple weeks ago, that was really bad. I had Big E and all of them just right there.
And then we went on to talk about UC and Ohio State, and yeah, that whole entire thing. If you actually want to hear the wrestling part of the conversation as well, that is up on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel right now as we speak. So you can check out that entire 18-minute conversation right now. Your mic is muted, Kevin. Your mic is muted, Kevin. Kevin, your mic is muted. Kevin,
I didn't want to be talking during the clip. We have a big interview coming up here with Big Jonah. Bronson Reed going to be with us in a moment.
Colossal, one would say.
All right, so I get to go first in this mock draft.
Yes. So the rules are the entire WWE roster is up for grabs. Raw, SmackDown, NXT. You get the first pick. We're gonna alternate. We're gonna do 20 overall picks, 10 each. So yes, sir, you get the first overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with my assessment that there is only one way you can go here?
I understand. So I have the first pick. So I have the opportunity here to take the most popular and desired superstars. They're not wrestlers. They're superstars.
In WWE, they're superstars. Yes.
I was thinking about this, and I'm going to go with Roman Reigns.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna do the smart thing. I'm gonna pit because I want the most desired guy in all of wrestling that everyone wants to see get pinned. And if he's gonna get pinned, he's gonna get pinned on my show. All right. Roman Reigns is coming to Monday Night Raw. He's coming over to USA Network.
You can do tag teams and factions, so I'm not gonna cheapen you here. You have the option of taking the entire bloodline, or are you just taking Roman Reigns?
I think you need the whole act, right? So, but then I'd be flipping my tag belts in too. I'm okay with that though. I wouldn't mind flipping my tag belts.
Maybe you still have the option of drafting Orton and Matt Riddle too. So it's on the board. So you're gonna take them all.
I'm gonna take them all. I'm gonna take the whole thing. I'm gonna take them all.
All right, then I got to go with the reactionary. All right, I would go a different direction here. No offense to the New Day, but I gotta have a world title on my show. Not gonna let you take Big E and that WWE Championship. So I am taking the New Day. Second overall, number 1, Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods. Putting some respect on their names after last year they fell all the way to the 4th round and were split up. Paid off in the long run, but at the time it was very disrespectful. They deserve this slot.
Another thing is there's going to be people you don't remember, and it feels bad because there's so much wrestling to keep up with. Like, by the time we get to the end of this list, you're going to say name, I'll be like, son of a bitch. Think of that. Or vice versa. My number 2 pick is going to be Becky Lynch. I want Becky Lynch. I want sassy, mean heels up top. I got a 3-hour show. I got to have villains you can chase. All right. I understand it may swap my titles, but hey, I'm shaking things up again. So I'm bringing the hottest acts in SmackDown over to Monday Night Raw, some fresh combinations. I'm going with the man and the head of the table at the top of my card here. My number 2 pick is Becky Lynch.
You have stolen.
Give it to me. Give me. No. That Funko Pop comes over to me. Give it to me.
You got both of them. You took
give them both to me.
You took both of my Funko Pops.
Hand them over.
They're all I have left. I was really hoping you were like a Charlotte Homer. That would
oh, good for you. That's my really Charlotte impression. Good for you.
I was really hoping you were a Charlotte Homer. This man, man. See, this hurts me because again, I almost have to be reactionary. I'm almost forced to take the Raw Women's Championship. And I got to take Charlotte, number 2 overall.
You're taking number 2 overall. You went with Charlotte.
I gotta have a women's world title on my show. And it is the queen, one of the greatest in-ring performers in the history of women's wrestling. In the history of wrestling, screw it. She's fantastic. So yes, I will happily take my consolation prize. That is the queen, Charlotte Flair. Even though she's not from the real Queen City. That would be Cincinnati. I don't care what she said.
My number 3 pick, Kevin Owens. If I'm WWE, I want to keep him in the fold. I want to keep him happy. I want to be able. We've cooled him off here. He had a big run earlier at the in 2020 into 2021, chasing Roman Reigns for the title. They did many matches, but I think there's other things you can do with him that are more personable and away from a title. I do think someone with his ability, his wide range to connect with the audience, both a villain and a hero, is necessary. And I think him as a chasing babyface in some way or another. Is cool with the different hands that would be possible there. Got to keep him in the fold. Can't let him out of WWE. Want him to know he's desired. He's my number 3 pick.
All right. I am going to go with a guy who I believe is a slam dunk future world champion and is also the current United States champion. I am selecting Mr. Damian Priest.
Okay. All right.
Banger of a match on Monday, by the way, against Sheamus, who, by the way, reportedly will not be involved in this year's draft because he underwent
another nose surgery. Oh, this poor man barely has a nose on his face. It's awful. So you went with Damian Priest. Good choice there. You got a guy who had a big hit at WrestleMania, really connects with the Latin American audience.
Which means I think by proxy, I get Bad Bunny as well.
Do you just get Bad Bunny by well? I can see that. I can see that. I can see them wanting that on the moment. So my number 4 pick. I'm on a number 4, right?
Yes.
I'm going with the Demon. I'm going with Finn Balor. I'm bringing Finn Balor over. I think Finn Balor and Kevin Owens can do some really special business. They've done it before in NXT. I think it's another thing you can revisit with a bigger audience here on Raw. And maybe give me a heel Owens and a Balor there. Some banger matches. They can have some real spectacles, and they don't even need the title there. That's the way I see this thing going. I'm going with that. And that makes Finn Balor my number 4 pick. Number 4. You're on the board there, Rick.
So to recap so far, you have the Bloodline.
I have number 1, Roman Reigns in the Bloodline. Number 2, Becky Lynch. Number 3, Finn Balor. Number 3, Kevin Owens. Number 4, Finn Balor.
And I have New Day, including the WWE champion Big E. I have Charlotte, Raw Women's Champion. Damian Priest, United States Champion. You know what Charlotte needs? Charlotte needs an opponent. She needs a rival. She needs somebody who is incredibly gifted, incredibly talented, incredibly over with the fan base. And the number 4 overall pick for SmackDown, Bianca Belair, the EST of WWE.
You messed up some of my picks. You messed up some of my picks. All right, here's where I become. I'm going to aggravate you. Here.
Okay.
You said anyone in the WWE, right?
Correct. Yes, anybody currently under contract.
My number 5 is the Beast, Brock Lesnar.
Oh, you can have him. I don't care. Don't give a damn. Take him.
Why don't you give a damn about Brock Lesnar?
Because if I'm building a show, I'm not worried about part-timers. I understand that Brock Lesnar is a draw, but you get him maybe 10 times a year, and 8 of those are pay-per-views. So it doesn't really help your show by having
I may have wasted a pick. There.
You may have indeed wasted a pick.
And he would float around. But I like Brock Lesnar. I think there's some fun things I can do with him and some people that I have.
Oh, man. There's so many options on the table here.
See, now we're getting into mid-card territory. All right? That's my number 5. So now we're really thinking about how can you fill out the bottom end of your show with some people that are coming up fast.
Mid-card territory. We barely. I have like one main event act so far. Current main event act in my men's roster at the moment.
I've made some good picks so far, though. I would say Roman Reigns. I got Becky. I got Owens. I got Balor.
Oh no, your roster's great. Now I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna go current or future. I'm trying to. I'm only guaranteed to get him for a year, so it's making me think I should take a main event. A main event star. You know where I see money? I see money in the women's division. I'm going to continue to stack my roster. I'm going to take the boss, Sasha Banks. I'll take that anchor of Charlotte, Bianca, and Sasha. I'll take that. And I'll run with it.
Good for you. I'll take your Sasha, and I'll raise you a Bailey. Bailey's on the shelf. She's injured. I reintroduce her fresh off injury as my new badass. And maybe I even make her my top baby face, my bad girl. We do bad girl Bayley versus badass the man Becky Lynch. Becky versus Bayley under these circumstances. Get myself a hot match on WrestleMania coming up here in a little bit.
I don't mind that at all. In fact, I left her out there for one important reason, because I really, really, really want to see that Becky Lynch Bayley feud. So I wasn't going to steal her away from you and deprive myself of seeing that. So I'll let you have Bayley, especially since she's going to be on the shelf for a little bit. I'm going to go
Steal Away. That's a deep Ozzy Osbourne cut. Look up that song, Steal Away the Night. Fun song.
I'm okay. Man, there's like 7 other women I still want to draft, but I got to fill out the men's roster too. You know, you got to.
We're at this is the 7th pick now.
This is.
Or is it 6? Are you 6 now? What do you have there?
Excuse me, 6. Yeah, I'm at the
6. I just did my 6th pick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is getting difficult. It's getting really, really, really difficult. Man. Hang on, let me all right, I'm taking a tag team.
Okay.
I'm gonna take RK Bro. Randy Orton is still a draw. Riddle is a really hot up and comer. I need tag team champions on my show.
You need some Gaga. You need some Gaga, some haha on SmackDown.
I need some flip-flops flying and some virtual birds in the air. That's what I need, baby.
Vince McMahon really likes birds.
I saw that clip. That was good.
Yeah. If ever there was a clear indication that someone in WWE gets to enjoy some marijuana on the road, it is Matt Riddle. God bless him. God bless him, man. God bless him for sure. All right, so that's your 6th pick. All right.
We got
my 7th pick is a match that has been teased. Match has been teased on SmackDown, and maybe I'm a real prick. I like to steal some things that are hot on SmackDown. It's the most watched wrestling show. I gotta have those hot angles. I gotta have those angles that have been built on your show pay off on my show. You're not getting father versus son on Friday nights. You're getting it on Monday nights. I'm getting the Mysterios, Dominic and Ray. And they are a tag team, and I do get to see them have a tag team run. Maybe I get to see them fight each other. All right, so I wanted to manipulate the herd here and play them as one pick together, and potentially get father versus son, Ray versus Dominic Mysterio, who I'm going to be interviewing next week. I'm interviewing Dominic Mysterio.
There you go.
So I'm going with the Mysterios. They're my 7th pick.
I got like 5 people I want to take here. Trying to think who would you take? Who are you eyeballing? That's what I want to know.
I have some different ones here. I'm going to say that. I have some choices that may surprise people.
I'm taking Liv Morgan.
All right, you messed up my next one.
I think I look, man. I want baby faces. I want people who are popular. I was there at Extreme Rules on Sunday.
Huge reaction for her when she came.
I know that I passed up some surefire things, but man, I'm looking towards the future. She is a future women's champion. I have been on the Liv Morgan bandwagon for a long time now. It was deafening for her in Columbus at Extreme Rules. I'm adding to my women's division. Absolutely stacked right now. I'm taking Liv Morgan. She's my sleeper pick for sure.
I'll take your Liv Morgan, and I will raise you if you go for the character who's able to connect with the audience and have some hot matches. I'm going to go with someone who's been able to connect with the audience and exceed expectations and live up to the hype when she was brought into the WWE fold. I'm talking about the top female pro wrestler in the world, Io Shirai. I'm going with Io Shirai. She comes up to Monday at Raw from NXT. She's my number 8 pick.
I like it. Actually, I like that a lot. Mostly because it allows me to swoop in and steal the face that runs the place along with his big ass best friend. I am taking AJ Styles and Omos.
That is one of the names I didn't recall.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who's available. So you got Orton, you got Styles, you got Banks, you got a lot of big names.
I do.
All right.
Yeah, I'm bringing
I'm taking a little bit more of a risk on some older names, but like some still some newer people though too at the same.
Sure. Are you taking Goldberg next?
No.
What about Gage? Is Gage coming in?
You ass. You're just making fun of me because I went with Brock Lesnar as a pick.
You went with Bork Laser.
I went with Bork Laser, as the internet calls him. My number 9 pick is definitely out there. He is someone we've never even seen have a professional wrestling match yet. He is someone, though, we've seen win some hardware. I'm going in with the lucrative secured talent that WWE has in Gable Steveson, the gold medal wrestling champion for the Team USA in the last Olympics. He is an acquisition. He is a project that WWE want to build, and I want him built on Monday Night Raw. I want him being going through people and mowing them down and becoming a hot star that can appeal to a younger audience and a legitimate sports audience. And I want Gable Steveson versus Brock Lesnar on Monday Night Raw.
You know who I want over on Friday Night SmackDown?
Who's that?
Somebody I already talked up. Somebody I'm already sold on. I'm taking Rex, Braun, Breaker, Steiner. I think I'm moving him up. Forget the seasoning.
You're calling
him.
You got those late picks. Who's your dark horse? You're going to sneak in there at the end.
I know, exactly. If I had more than 10 picks, I might wait here. But you know what? I want him on my show. I like him that much. I think he's a can't miss prospect. He's there at 9. I got to take him. I'm taking Braun Breaker.
So now I'm looking at my final pick. And I have like 3 names here that I'm thinking about choosing. What 3 names do you think I'm looking at?
Oh, I think
because you leave someone off and then you pick them off.
Right. I'm probably going to remind you of somebody.
Yeah. But you don't want to show your cards either, though, right? So I'm not asking.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I got last pick. I don't care. I got like 5 people on my list too. So
you're gonna be leaving. We're all going to be leaving someone off, right?
Yeah. I can't believe Shinsuke's still out there. I can't believe Drew McIntyre is still out there. I can't believe Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Business are still out there. I can't believe my next pick is still out there. Yeah, there's some names.
The thing is, I didn't choose Drew because I thought you would choose Drew. So I was like, all right. And then I'm also like, well, if you don't pick them, then they are where they are, right? You know, wherever they
I hope Drew's not watching this show.
Oh, I just interviewed Drew today. He's gonna know. He's gonna know.
We're screwed.
Drew's gonna come. He's gonna come to the BMO Harris Bank Center in Rockford, Illinois. I'm gonna be in the front row of that house show. It's not gonna be televised. And then he's gonna see my big bald dumbass and say, "You son of a bitch! You didn't pick me in your mock draft." And then he's gonna claymore me.
There's another guy I can't believe that's still out there. Actually, there's 2 other guys I can't believe they're still out there. They're in a hot feud over on Friday Night SmackDown. Very personal feud on Friday Night SmackDown. One of them may have been a messiah at one point. Can't believe they're still out there.
Oh, this is my pick, right?
Yes, your final pick. Dun.
Fresh matchups, right?
Yes.
So I'm going with a fresh matchup, and maybe I'll regret this. I'm going with somebody who had some boo-boos, had some serious surgeries and different things like that. Everyone knows him as an NXT name. We've only known him a little bit on Monday Night Raw. But I'm going with the NXT champion, Tommaso Ciampa. I think it's time that we call him up and we have him do some tours of duty on Monday Night Raw. I go with Tommaso Ciampa. I think it creates a fresh situation. I think Ciampa versus Reigns, Ciampa versus Lesnar, Ciampa versus these other names I have is exciting. Stars make matches, and I have some stars here to make matches with.
So all those names I threw out, you're leaving them sit there for me. So I gotta piss somebody.
You can pick them, but I want with something that's different because I think I've just seen a lot of combinations. All I thought it was just combinations. Like who is exciting? What's exciting on paper with these people together, right?
You know, because in theory, like we're just doing the top 10, but in theory, we would get, more picks.
Oh yeah. We would get like what, 20, 25? What are they going to do on TV, you think?
Hell if I know.
There's 2 nights of it.
Yeah,
There's 2 nights of it.
Well, they did last year. The last couple of years, they did like the after show stuff where they put them out on social media, and they went pretty much the whole entire roster until everybody was.
Or they'll do picks during the commercial breaks too on social media, which I thought was kind of crazy.
All right, I'm trying to think. Who do I want? I'm not about separating families, so I will leave Seth Rollins for you. Although,
are you implying that I separated families by picking Becky Lynch and not picking?
Well, I'm not going to separate the family by. I'm the one who told you to take the Usos. I am not about separating anybody because I don't think he's quite ready yet to be out on his own. But I do believe he is a future world champion. But he still needs some seasoning. So I'm going to keep his tag partner alongside him. Same man I interviewed today. I'm going to take the Street Profits. Montez Ford, future WWE champion Montez Ford, and Angelo Dawkins.
I think you made some good picks there, bud.
I'm sorry, Drew. Don't hate me. Don't unfollow me.
Don't hate me, Drew. Don't hate me, Drew. Drew, if you're watching, I know you're watching. I know you're absolutely watching.
Yeah, you're a big fan of the InSide Kradle, as WWE is.
I definitely feel and get the impression that that I made some strong picks here. I'm scrolling my picks at the bottom of the screen, by the way. I wanted Sasha potentially in the second spot there. That's why I have her there.
Are you scrolling my picks?
Do you have your picks? Put your picks on the screen if you have them there to scroll.
All right. Well, I'll do it while we're airing Big Joe.
So a lot to get into.
We left a lot of talent out there.
We did, but you only get those 10 spots.
You know what? I hate myself. You know why I hate myself is because I have been screaming for months for the WWE to put some respect on the Intercontinental Championship. And then we go through 20 damn picks and neither one of us took the damn Intercontinental Championship.
The hottest entrance in wrestling is Nakamura and Boogs, right? Him playing guitar to the ring, and we left that on our options to play with here.
Pop quiz. I hit Dutch and Sid with this one. You know the last time the Intercontinental Championship was defended on a pay-per-view?
God, it's got to be more than a year, right?
Feels like it. WrestleMania. WrestleMania was the last time the Intercontinental Championship was defended.
Oh, Big E and Apollo Crews, yeah.
Yeah, the Nigerian drum fight was the first time. It was the last time it's been defended. Can we put some damn respect on Shinsuke Nakamura? I should have taken him 10th. Damn it. Oh, well, I'm taking him 11th because you're taking Seth Rollins 11th.
What do you think of my picks? What do you think of them? I had some out there picks. I know I had some out there picks.
I think I did better.
You think you did better selections?
You guys can vote. Running it down, Kevin, Bloodline, Becky Lynch. I love your top 2 picks. Those would have been my top 2 picks. Yeah. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Bork Laser, Bailey, Mysterios, Io Shirai, Gable Steveson, Tommaso Ciampa. The winning team, SmackDown, New Day, Charlotte, Damian Priest, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks, RK Bro, Liv Morgan, AJ Styles, and Omos. Rex Braun Breaker and the Street Profits. I think I win. Do we want to talk to Jonah?
Yes, we want to talk to Jonah. We want to talk to Big Jonah. We got to do a lot in this conversation with him. If you're a fan of him, I think you get another scope, another deep brushing of who he is as a person and how he seems like he's in really good spirits and that he's excited about his future post WWE. And also the thing I knew when the conversation started, we're not going to get him on here like trashing WWE and saying they treated me so poorly and he didn't give that. He just said I was kind of surprised by it. And he does lay out the whole process of how that happened and the circumstance of it were very, very surprising to him. So he is human in it. He's not, keeping it safe or anything like that. We get everything from him. And you get an idea where his head is at and what type of big matches he wants to have now outside of WWE. And those big matches, emphasis on big, are still very much available. Also, we get into all the different things he wants to cover on his new podcast. Let's jump right into it. Our conversation with the man as Bronson Reed, but you now know him as Big Jonah. Earlier this year, our guest was the WWE NXT North American Champion. Now he's in a completely new place, not just bound by North America. All right. He is one of the most desired super heavyweights in all of professional wrestling, one of the most talked about free agents in all of professional wrestling. You know him as Bronson Reed. The world now knows him as Big Jonah. Jonah, how are you doing? Welcome to Sportskeeda. We're going to go into some deep diving topics here. You got a lot of cool projects now outside of WWE.
Yes.
How is life for you now post WWE?
It's going good. You know, it was a shock to begin with, you know, something that I didn't have in my trajectory for this year at all. You know, I sort of had my year planned out from a creative standpoint from WWE and sort of my own personal life, because I tried to, you know, work my personal life around my work. So I had that all planned out, and then Spanner got thrown in the works, and now I'm figuring out new adventures.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those, you're diving into our side of the world. You just started up your own podcast.
Yes, that's right. I started up my own podcast. It's called Jonah, and it's been very cathartic for me. I've been able to speak about what I want to speak about. And I'm going to be much like you guys, having guests on eventually. So for the time being, it's just myself, but I will have guests eventually.
Yeah, and you got a leg up on us because you have much better connections than we do.
Maybe. You know, I try not to burn any bridges where I go, but maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some names in your phone. Oh, I have a number. Yeah,
that's true. I mean, depending on where they work, maybe I'll be able to get them on. I don't know.
So tell me about the process. Obviously, this is something you've had to talk to a lot of people about, but you mentioned where things were going. It was 2021 was a huge year for you already. A massive title win, you know, a defining moment for you in a cage on television against Johnny Gargano, an incredible match. And your sky's the limit. There's talk of you getting out of NXT and going to Raw and Smackdown, and then this comes out of nowhere. For a lot of people observing wrestling, it didn't seem like you would be a name people would put in that category. It seems like this was a shock to you, but you talked about you kind of knew what your plans were going to be for the rest of the year creatively in terms of your character and your performance. Can you allude to what some of that was? Do you had an idea what some of that was, or what some things were potentially on the table or talked about?
Yeah, I mean, the way that, you know, big companies, especially WWE work, is you get told, some people get told what their future might hold and what the story might be going, you know, further down the track. And I was sort of given that by Hunter himself, and I worked closely with Shawn Michaels as well. So I sort of had tracked out that, you know, I was going to be North American champion, be sort of that strong North American champion that defends his belt all the way to the end of the year, and eventually face off with the NXT champion. So that was the story that was going to happen. But then obviously with WWE, things change on a week-to-week basis. So I always, you know, I'll believe those things when they happen. Even when they told me I was becoming the North American champion, I was like, okay, I'll wait until it actually happens before I get happy.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't expect to be released amongst all that. So as that was all happening, things sort of started changing pretty quickly. And I was thrown into doing some dark matches and a tape match for main event for Vince McMahon. And the word on the street, you know, whatever everyone told me backstage was I was going to move up to Raw. And I North American Championship, thought I was headed, but instead I ended up being released. So yeah, big shock. And I think a lot of the wrestling community, fans, and everyone that I
did the media rounds, and the first time we got to talk was when you won the North American Championship. And you talked about, you know, you wanted to, I think the line you dropped on me was you wanted this to be like RVD's, you know, ECW TV title run. And, you know, when you dropped it so quickly there afterwards, I immediately thought, and I think I even messaged you like, dude, big things got to be ahead for you. And, you know, you start doing those dark matches, man. And it's like, yeah, this has got to be going the direction. And yeah, it was like a total shock to everybody. It just took the wind out of the sails of social media when that news dropped. And, you know, there was, I saw the interview you did with Chris Van Vliet, and you said you really weren't given a reason for why this happens. But, you know, it's got to be eating at you. Is there anything that you thought might have happened, or anything you might think the reason might be?
Yeah, that's the hard thing, when these things happen, a lot of the times they don't give you a reason, and you're sort of left, just thinking. And being a professional wrestler, I'm someone that's so obsessed with what I do. I've been a fan of wrestling since I was a child, since I could remember. So I've always been obsessed with wrestling, and when you're working, that's all you think about. So then to have it just go cold turkey, as they speak, that's all you think about as well, is like, oh, what happened? And I made sure when I did get my call for my release, which I thought was a call to be going up to RAW and Smackdown at the time. Yeah, it was actually a Friday night during a Smackdown episode. I was watching at home. I get the call from Connecticut. So I'm like, okay, better answer this. Must be work. And it's John Laurinaitis. I answered, nicely, thinking, okay, here we go. And he said, oh, we have to exercise our right to release you. Big shock. I sort of was a bit taken for words. I didn't know what to say. But a lot of people sort of are quick to accept that and be like, okay, and then that's it. And then they hang up and you're done. Whereas I made sure to ask him why. And I thought if I asked him, maybe he could tell me, we're going in a different direction, or you need to work on A, B, and C, and then I can proactively do that. But instead it's just a no for now. So that leaves you even more confused. He goes, it's just a no for now. The door is always open, and that was it. So
now I work in radio full time. This is just my part-time gig. And about 7 or 8 years ago, after 5 years on that grind of like trying to make it in radio, which is incredibly difficult, as Kevin can allude to as well, because he's also in the business.
I can imagine.
I had my release recently, so
yeah, you get it.
I get it.
After a 5-year grind, I finally got my my dream job covering the Reds and the Bengals, and I was getting paid to go to games, and I was loving it. And it was for an upstart station, and we were promised, hey, look, we're going to give you guys time to grow. We're going to give you 3 years. And then after 6 months, they got impatient with us, and they called us up on a conference call and fired all of us. And I'm not going to lie, man, that kind of killed my passion for the business, like squashed it almost immediately. And to be honest, the only thing that kept me going was I put so much time and effort into this. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to keep pushing forward. And eventually I landed a good job again, and I got my passion back over time. But, initially was there any kind of those same feelings for you when you got that call? Like, man, I don't know if I want to do this anymore.
Yeah. Well, for me, I think you do take it one of two ways. Either you do take like that, it crushes you and you're like, okay, maybe I need to reassess things, or it motivates you to sort of show them why they're wrong. And that's the sort of mindset that I had straight away. I was a little upset, but I was more angry than anything, just because I didn't see it coming. I always did what they asked of me. I was getting used really well. So I thought that it was just a wrong move by them. So because I am such a big wrestling fan, I always try to take time to remind myself why I am a fan and why I do what I do. And I had just went back, like when that had happened, I went back and watched some matches that I'm very fond of. And my wife reminded me like, hey, think about why you love this and why you do this. And it is for the professional wrestling aspect of it. So I can continue to be a pro wrestler somewhere else. So yeah, if anything, it's just motivated me to be like, okay, I'll just go take my talents elsewhere, and it's their loss.
Now, we can't really jump right into where that elsewhere is.
No.
But obviously the landscape, I've been using the word landscape a lot for wrestling in the past 2 years quite a bit. Yeah. But it is a different space.
It is.
Obviously, WWE is a majority of it, but there's a very wide open space, and there's a lot of opportunities out there. We could talk about promotions, but I think a lot of fans want to talk about matchups. You are a super heavyweight. You are a rare physical specimen in this business, and there are a handful of other very large, as your compatriot in WWE, the current WWE champion, big beefy men out there who want to slap the meat. Big E, tell me about the super heavyweight range right now in wrestling, and you now as a free agent, me and you could do some special things. There's some names out there that you're eyeing. Maybe you don't have to name any of them, but obviously there's something out there for you to sink your teeth into right now.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I think I am given, the talent that I am is very different to a lot of what is out there. I am a super heavyweight, but I am a little bit different in that I'm not the tall super heavyweight. I'm more compact and wide. So I like to compare myself to like a modern day Bam Bam Bigelow or something along those lines, where I am agile as well. And I am always watching wrestling, so I'm always looking out for opponents. There was obviously a few in WWE that I really wanted to work with, Samoa Joe being probably the biggest one of them, which was probably on the books, but it didn't happen. Outside of there, I've been watching Impact, I've been watching AEW, I've been watching New Japan, I've been watching the Indies as well. So I always see, I think styles make matches. So it's not always like the big guy work, but there are a lot of big guys that I think I could have great matches with. Miro and AEW, I think would be a great matchup for me. Moose in Impact is someone that I'd like to get in the ring with. And then pretty much the whole New Japan roster. Like I've been watching that for quite a while. I wrestled in Japan for Pro Wrestling Noah, and that's a style that I'm very attracted to. And I'd like to get in there with a lot of their top guys.
I'm glad you brought up Miro specifically because it has become almost a tradition every week when I'm watching AEW on Wednesdays and Miro's on the screen. I wait for your tweet. I wait for some. Okay, what's Jonah going to say this week when Miro's on? What is it so specifically about him that you think would make a great matchup between the two?
I think it's just the style. So, like, I think he's that big, bad bruisers type of style. And I am all that and more, but I'm also, generally people know me as a baby face. I think the wrestling world is going to be shocked if I get to be something other than a baby face. A lot of people that have followed me through my whole career when I was Jonah Rock before Bronson Reed know that I have a very mean side to me. And that was not seen in WWE. And I think wherever I do go, maybe you'll get to see that. And I think it's going to shock a lot of people.
Now we're in this open space. A lot of live events are coming back.
Yes.
Obviously, you're obviously waiting to call your shot here. And how excited are you though for this next move? Which you say you were telling us before we went here. You didn't tell us anything we can't reveal, right? But
yes.
How excited are you for this next move? And how much do you think fans and supporters of you are going to look forward to this?
I think if you're a fan and supporter, you're going to look forward to whatever I do. But it is very exciting for me. I've been, as soon as I stopped, got the release from WWE, I wanted to wrestle straight away. And then you have I had the 30-day no compete. Mm-hmm. But then on top of that, I also have some immigration stuff to deal with being from Australia. And then even before that, it was a couple of weeks that I didn't actually get to work. So by the time I actually get to wrestle, it might be a few months before I've actually stepped foot in a ring. So I'm very excited to do so. And I'm just hoping it all comes together well and the fans enjoy it.
You talk about not burning bridges, right? You always want to keep your options on the table, and obviously you have something in the works. Hopefully we'll find out soon. We're all very excited to find out what was soon. But I'm curious, like, how things ended with WWE? Did that kind of close the door on ever working with them again in the future, or would you be open to that?
I don't ever close any door. I think, I am not a fan of sort of the direction they are taking, where they want to not proactively seek independent wrestlers. Being an independent wrestler myself that wrestled, all across the world for 13 years before he actually got signed to WWE, I think that's a wrong move on their part. So for the time being, it's not somewhere where I would want to be. I watch the product and it's not something that I actually would want to do. I still make sure to keep up with the product. And I think sometimes things happen for a reason. And upon reflecting on being released and seeing what road they're sort of going down, I'm like, maybe I wouldn't have been the best fit there anyway. But I'll never say that the door is closed, because you never know. With how the business moves so quickly, in 6 months, that might all change. And they might have a different perspective or a different avenue that they're going down as well.
Or a new role that comes up and you're like, who'd be great for this?
Yeah, exactly.
And those things present themselves. And that's happened before and it can happen again, right?
Yeah, exactly.
since you have left WWE NXT and everyone knew you from NXT, NXT's gone over some really heavy changes. Stylistically, the roster is different, the way the show is presented, the way the show is filmed, all these different things. Have you been able to see it, and what is your take on it since you contributed so much to the brand?
Yeah, I mean, I have watched it. And, you know, I'm not going to bury anyone or do anything along those lines.
Get the shovel. Get the shovel, Jonah. Yeah. Really? Yeah.
Hang on. Are the tabloids ready? Joni's about to
about to
get
drop
ready
something.
for your pull quotes now that everyone's going to run with. And
that's what happens.
Here comes the shoot. Here comes the shoot, guys.
And everything I say is a shoot. So, but I think it's obviously still an entertaining product to watch. It's something different to what they had. But for me, being such a fan of the pro wrestling side of the business, not just so much the entertainment side, I always thought that even though I was in WWE, NXT was that pro wrestling brand. And it was almost not like ECW, but it was a little counterculture. It was a little bit more gritty. It was a little bit more focused on what happens in the ring. And then to have that taken away, it sort of just feels just like another WWE show to me. So that's my views on it.
Now, are there, obviously you still have a lot of friends in that locker room.
Yes.
You know, you find yourself watching TV and kind of, you know, rooting certain people on and hoping that they do particularly well on television.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there's still a lot of friends there and guys that I worked with or became friends with while working with them, and I still want to try and support those guys, and that's why I still watch the product to see, you know, my friends, what they're doing and what's going on.
Tell me about the podcast, Jonah Drum. Like what is the concept? Everyone can do a podcast, right? You're on.
Yes,
right?
Pretty much everybody has a podcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I did want to do while I was in WWE, and I was sort of told no, I couldn't do it. So I was like, okay. And then as soon as I got that release, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to do that podcast. And I wanted to make it about obviously my journey in pro wrestling, but also about just the inside of my mind, basically. So I talk about what I'm doing for the week. I talk about movies and music as well, because I'm very big into pop culture and film. So it's sort of just, an inside of the mind of Jonah, and I'll just randomly ramble on for a half an hour every week.
What have you been watching then?
I was going to say,
what's the move? There's a lot of stuff coming out now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm constantly watching things. So I try to keep up with like new releases and things like that. I have an app called Letterboxd, if you guys know about that.
I've heard of it. I don't use it.
Yeah. You basically can rate movies, and you can also leave reviews and stuff like that. So I'm getting people to follow me on there. At the moment, I'm actually watching an Australian television show called Wentworth, which is based in a women's prison. It's actually been out for, I think they've had 8 seasons now. And it was something when I lived in Australia, everyone was like, you got to watch this show. You got to watch this show. And I just never did. And then randomly, I want to say a week ago, my wife's like, oh, this is on Netflix. Started watching it. I'm hooked.
It's insane too. And especially if like you're busy like me and you start a Netflix show, like all you want to do is I ended up staying way too late because I started that Midnight Mass series, the next one in like
yeah,
good, man. It's good. It's
good?
Not as scary as Bly Manor and Haunting of Hill House. It's not as scary, but it's more of a mystery type thing. And I would, if you have time to run through all 7 episodes, so if you have 7 hours of free time, I would suggest you're going to want to binge it.
I would definitely say that. I've seen the other 2, like part of that series, and a big horror fan as well. So
that was my next. That was my next question. Was like, what kind of genres and things do you like? Before we move on there, since you have seen Haunting of Hill House, I will always maintain. And Kevin, if you're not, if you haven't seen it, go ahead.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't seen Haunting.
I'm taking my headphones off. Go ahead.
Earmuffs. When Nell popped out of the back of the car, was that not the most inventive goddamn scare in the history? I've seen that series twice, and I jumped through my roof both damn times.
Yeah, I think what they do so well is it is so suspenseful, and sometimes they don't really have many jump scares throughout. Even one episode will go past where nothing really scares you. So then when they do a jump scare, you're like, oh, and it really gets you. So
I was a sucker for all the found footage horror movies when that was a trend. Like I knew it was a trend, but the gimmick got me, for lack of a better phrase. The gimmick got me.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing myself at like the 4th or 5th Paranormal Activity movie, like in the theater. I was like, dude, I'm such a to use a wrestling term, I was like, they got me. They so got me. Like
I went and watched all those movies as well. I think there's a new one coming out from what I read.
They've waited a few years to put them out because they put them out like every year for a few years, and they're like, all right, we're gonna put it on the shelf for a while. But those first 2 or 3 are terrifying. Those are like modern classics to me, like right away. And I love Shudder too, which is a streaming service. There's a bunch of horror movies.
Me too. I have Shudder.
I've been enjoying Joe Bob Briggs. His kind of like, I'm going to show you this awful movie, and it's almost more entertaining to watch him like break down. Like, here are all these great actors. They went on to this. Remember this person? You saw them at SVU, Law and Order, and they were in this awful movie in 1993. And then like it's very entertaining to watch him kind of go off on these movies. I recently watched Hell Comes to Frogtown with Roddy Piper.
That's a great movie. Well,
it's a great bad movie. It's a great bad movie. Like, it's not a bad movie, but you can't say it's like a classic, and it's almost you entertain it in that regard. So for sure.
And Roddy Piper, anything he did, I was a big fan of.
He was a great actor.
Yeah,
he eats up the screen every time. Come on, They Live, dude.
Yeah,
They Live is like one of the best action movies of all time.
I agree. I love that movie. And speaking
that fight scene, he goes and does that fight scene. They figure it out in 2 days. He goes, I'll figure the whole thing out. Like, you know, and they're just wrecking each other for like 15 minutes. It's
great though. Like, it's something that I think you don't expect. You're watching this movie, and then all of a sudden this fight scene goes for that long, and you're like, when's this gonna end? Or how's this gonna end? Speaking of Shudder, though, they has one of my most recent favorite horror films was on there, which was Host, which is very much like what we're doing now. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it. It's a horror movie based on Zoom, and it is like, my wife was terrified from watching it. So definitely give that a watch. And I think it only goes for maybe an hour or 5 minutes. It's quite short, but it's very
making me look over.
Yeah, exactly. It's very inventive for the time that we were in these last year and a half or so. So give that one a watch.
Now, there's actually like so many mini genres within horror, right? Because you have the slasher, you have the ghost, you have the suspense thriller. Which one are you more into?
I was a big fan of slasher films, so like Friday the 13th. I mean, A Nightmare on Elm Street is sort of slasher at the same time as sort of being, you know, a bit more fantasy. But the Halloween franchise is I'm a big fan of, and I'm looking forward to the new one coming out. So I think slasher films or ghost movies. I think James Wan, fellow Australian, has sort of reintroduced ghost movies to being cool again, and I'm a big fan of them.
I like when they throw a little bit of mystery in there, because I was always a slasher person as well. So like when Scream first came out,
perfect.
That was like, yes, because you're trying to figure, it's like a crime drama, but with like a lot more blood. And it was just, it was so I can't believe they're coming out with a 5th one though. It's like,
yes, I'm interested to see what it'll be like. I'm not sure what it'll be like, but I'm sure I'll be at the cinema lining up to watch it though.
I know a lot of people.
This is gonna suck. I'm gonna pay $15 to say it sucks.
I know a lot of people are going to be pissed, but Nev Campbell has to die this time, right? Like, doesn't she? It's been so long. Like, she's opening credit, murder, and get it out of the way.
I mean, she might be the ultimate final girl that never gets killed.
True. So always going over. Always going over. Just booking the territory.
She's the John Cena of horror movies.
Yes. She has her 5 moves of doom at the end of the film. She survives.
Oh man.
Jonah, we can get, how often are the podcasts coming out, and where can people? It's on all the different apps. Where
it's on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Buzzsprout, and also I have the YouTube channel, which is also titled Jonadrome, and it'll be dropping weekly, generally Sunday nights.
Cool. Something to start your week off. So if you need something on Sundays, sure.
Going head to head with pay-per-views.
Go really blast them out of the water.
I don't know about that, but you can watch it at any point on YouTube and re-listen to it later on during the week.
Well, John, it's been a pleasure catching up with you. Glad to see that you're doing well. Really looking forward to whatever this next chapter is as soon as it breaks, and hopefully, once you get things cooking, we'll chat again.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Great conversation there with the one, the only Big Jonah, Rick. Quite the move that he's making there, right? He's going out on his own. You are the one with your microphone muted. There you go.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah,
you did a Kevin.
I pulled a Kev. Yes. Hopefully we find out what's going on. By the way, if anybody was wondering what I was doing, I was trying not to be rude in there. I noticed there was a clip where you guys were talking about Roddy Piper, where it just looked like I tailed off and I wasn't paying attention at all. I would like to note that's the SK boss's fault, because they started like spam texting me like something important was happening. So I was like, I gotta answer this. Blah.
Yeah.
By the way, can I just say, like, this is the perfect like microcosm of my life. I just got a very cool email from my main gig, my main company, right? Very, very cool email that they're updating our benefits for 2022. Very, very cool thing, getting us a lot of really cool stuff. The problem is, of course, for the first time in the history of this company, they're offering paid paternity leave. And as a man who just had 2 kids, that is the third shot in the nuts, right? I feel like, can I sue for restitution? I'm just curious. Can I get back pay on that?
Can I sue for a couple weekends off so me and the boys can go see some wrestling?
I had to save up all my vacation days for these kids. No.
These kids.
It's very, very cool thing that they're doing that, but I'm just like, of course.
Did you enjoy this 90 minutes of content that we just dropped on you? We will have more Friday night during SmackDown. Watch our live watch along draft coverage. If it goes well, we will do it again for the night 2 of the draft on Monday night. Of course, we have content coming at you, hours of it every single week on our video channels, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple. Go ahead and subscribe. You can follow Rick on the Twitter machine. Where, Rick?
Right there at Rick Ucchino. For those listening on the podcast, that is RICKUCCHINO. There are benefits to following me other than just me being a super cool dude. You get the very first access to anything and everything I do on this channel, including interviews. So if you want to see clips from my interview with Angelo Dawkins or Liv Morgan last week, or whomever I'm going to have in the very, very near future, you get it all first right there on my Twitter at Rick Ucchino, RICKUCCHINO.
All right, you can follow me on the Twitter machine at Kev Kellam. By the way, I'll be in Milwaukee, Wisconsin coming up October 9th and 10th.
Actually, Kev, it's pronounced Milwaukee.
Milwaukee, the good land.
Algonquin for the good land.
Yes. Someone watch Wayne's World as well. More 90s movies references. So I will be up there. I will be reenacting the opening sequence of Laverne and Shirley. And in between that, I'll be performing in the Milwaukee Comedy Festival for the second year in a row.
There you go.
I'll be back at the Laughing Tap, October 9th and 10th.
Was last year's virtual?
Last year's was in person. We did a pre-vaccine, which was
risky,
exciting. Risky and exciting. This year, less risk. Still present, but less risk.
Just risky.
Vaccines in arms, less risk. So this is fun. And you get your tickets. Just Google the Laughing Tap, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. If you know anyone in the area, shout them out. And also, I believe you can buy live streams for those shows as well. You can buy live streams for $10 if you want to catch my set. I'll be doing Saturday afternoon, October 9th, and Sunday afternoon, October 10th. Some really cool people on those, including the great Laura Bites, one of the fastest rising comedians in the scene. So go buy your tickets, look up the Laughing Tap, and check me out in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Going right now. I'm buying them right now.
I'll also be at the Lincoln Lodge in Chicago coming up here this Sunday, October 3rd. So live comedy with me yelling like a dumbass. And
wait,
I'm always
how much? Screw that.
For what? Oh, shut up! You can buy the live stream for $10 and see great live comedy. Go do that. Also, this Friday night I'll be on pay-per-view with AAW Defining Moment. So I'm all over the place. That'll be available on Fight.tv. You can get the replay over the weekend.
Don't forget to sleep at some point.
Oh, yeah, I got to do that. That's been a real problem recently.
I know.
Is the whole sleep thing.
Yeah.
It's been a real issue. I've been very, very busy. I'm very, very thankful of everyone with my schedules. So, good stuff.
Go back to sleep. After you load this up, obviously.
Oh, yes. Yes, that's important.
Get this queued up and then go to sleep. I'm going to watch
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. Bengals beat the hell out of Mike's Jaguars tonight.
Mike, our social media director, is not going to like that we got that in at the end of the show. He's not going to appreciate it. Of course,
that. Every time I get cocky about them, they screw me over. Like, so maybe they'll lose. I don't know. I hope not.
All right. So every single week we drop this big, long, big, beefy show that we call the Inside Kradle. And all we ask is for you to share the link and pass along with your friends. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you haven't done already, go ahead and smash that like button and subscribe to our channel on YouTube. And remember, when watching wrestling, do the most important thing that you can, which is what, Richard?
Enjoy it.
Enjoy wrestling. Bye. Bye.